How we doing? This is Coach Cavalea checking in with you today. So I wrote a blog the other day that talked about approaching your life as a sports season. Pretty cool, right? What does that even mean? So I was working with one of my clients, Brandon Steiner, the other day, founder of Steiner Sports, some of you may be familiar with. And we said, how many people are pushing their pace so hard every day that they don't realize how much burnout is coming their way and how much fatigue is coming their way, and that eventually, probably sooner than later, their train will be derailed, somewhat unexpectedly, but completely expected. And in today's culture, it's all about working hard, right? Working hard, success, pushing, making it happen for yourself, whatever terms you want to use. They're all out there. And, you can always go online and be sure that somebody out there will be telling you to work even harder, and while you're sleeping, someone else is working. And I gotta tell you, it can't be further than the truth. There may be somebody out there working, and they may even be working harder than you, let's say. But the question is, are they thinking about the short game, or are they thinking about the long game? And in order to sustain high performance over the long haul, you can't kill yourself every day without being derailed. And I was so lucky that I got a chance to see all of this close up. How do the greatest in the world work? What makes them great? And what I found is what makes a lot of these guys great is actually their habits as they relate to rest and relaxation. Now, to be a great baseball player, let's say of Derek Jeter status per se, you think you'd have to be working out and training and, taking grounders and infield and batting practice all day long, right? That's what I thought as a young guy. And when I got into the business world, it was the same thing. I thought I had to be working and hustling all the time because that's what the greatest in the world do. That's what the world's billionaires do. So that's what I gotta do. And when I started working with Jeter, and when I started to work with a bunch of these billionaires and team owners, once again I realized that I was so far off. I was given bad information by coaches when I was younger that said, you gotta work harder if you want to be better. You gotta work more if you gotta be better, or if you want to be better. And working hard and working more, that's such generalized crap if you think about it. What does that even mean? How about working effectively? How about what do I need to do to get better and do that, and once I'm done with that, I'm done. And that's actually what I learned from Jeter. Not the first one there, and definitely not the last one to leave. More like the last one there and the first one to leave. But when he was there at the stadium, as soon as he walked through those doors, boom, he was ready to go. He was ready to work. And it started with his routine, and while he was there, he executed his routine the whole time, played the game, showered up. First he hit the cold baths, showered up, and then headed out for a nice dinner and to socialize with friends. And what I realized is some of these great performers, or all the great performers that I know, they have balance in their life. They're not the ones that are suffering from poor work-life balance and fatigue and burnout and all of these things, because they prioritize their routine that they've built, they prioritize their health, they prioritize their relationships, and when you put all of that together, that's what yields success. So every one of their buckets is in balance. Not one is taking precedent over the other. Now, there is a level of selfishness wrapped around it, because in order to perform at the highest level, you have to be a little bit selfish. And that's what I see from these guys, and that's okay. But when they're with their family and they're with the relationships that mean the most to them, they're all there. But I will say probably 60 to 70% of their day is built around them, because their earning and their business is really built around them. And that's okay. So, for you, I asked the question, how does your life look? How do your routines look? Are you the first one there, last one to leave? Do you find yourself being at work just to be at work? Do you find yourself taking swings in the cage and practicing just to practice? Are you a coach that feels like the more practices you have, the better your team's going to be? Or the longer your practice is, the more they're getting out of it? Those are questions that need to be answered. But first we have to ask them. We have to have the self-awareness to really take a deep dive into ourselves, our habits, and what we have going on. And if we can do that, man, we're going to be in a much, much better place. And when I was talking to Brandon yesterday, we talked about this false sense of achievement where the harder you work, the more you achieve. The more you work, the more you achieve. And it's not always true. What if you can aggregate your work and say, hey, I'm typically at work for 8 hours, but what could I do in 4? Or I typically have a 2-hour practice, what could I do in 90 minutes so these kids can recover? And I was talking to my father actually last week, and I bring him up a bunch. He's a musician and a teacher. And we were talking about the most successful academic system in the world is actually in Finland right now. Now, Finland was behind the United States and behind some of the academic superpowers in the world. But now they're at the top. And what did they do? They cut their school day down. They cut out homework completely. And they encouraged more free play and family interaction and socialization. And what happened? The kids started to respond with better grades and better academics. Interesting. They didn't have to work as hard as they did, and now they're getting much, much better results as a result of it. So, if you're in business, if you're in sport, how does that apply to you? And that's something that we really have to ask ourselves. But in yesterday's conversation with Brandon, we said, what if we could break our year up into 4 quarters? Much like, companies do, and much like sports do. What if we can live our life that way as well? We have 4 quarters of the year. We set our own goals for those quarters, and also we have X amount of timeouts, meaning let's just say you're exhausted and you end up taking a day off from work, or you're realizing as a coach that your team is exhausted and you cancel practice that day. I remember working under Joe Torre, and he was the best at this. Reading his team, reading his people, seeing when somebody was burnt out or the team as a whole was exhausted, and he'd give us a day off. And that was what made him great. What if we can get a bye week every 8 to 10 weeks? In corporate America, it's called a vacation. What if we took a vacation every 10 weeks? That would be amazing to restore and refresh ourselves. We get an off season every year to heal and build yourself, much like sports. So, should we be playing all year as an athlete? No, we need to take off. How could you possibly be in corporate America and playing all year? Come on, we all know that December is a crappy month, and we all know that August is a crappy month. So why not make those the easy months? Cut the work week down a little bit. Couple leave early days, maybe a day off here, a day off there. All helpful stuff to preserve yourself and rebuild that body. So if we can put those timeouts in play, if we can take those vacations every 8 to 10 weeks, if we can put those mini off seasons in, then that gives us chances during the season to actually go out and grind it out. And where we are going to work hard, we're going to go on some long stretches of work and push. And we can do that if we know that, again, we have that bye week or that vacation coming up, or we have that time out and that extra day. As opposed to just actually tricking ourselves and thinking we could kill ourselves and drive the truck 100 miles an hour all year without running out of gas. That's just crazy. So if you think about those rules, which I wrote about in the blog on March 13th, 2018, they're all right there. 4 quarters, timeouts, a bye week every 8 to 10 weeks, an off season every year. During the season, grind it out and follow that up with some rest. And just know that every long stretch should be followed by an off day or an all-star break. So I know it may sound a little far-fetched, but it's not, because I've seen the best do it. And I'm not just talking about the best in sports. I'm talking about the best coaches. I'm talking about the best businessmen. It's about pace. Pace yourself. If you think you could chop that tree down in one helping, in one sitting, in one chopping session, you're crazy. And why would you want to? Pace yourself. If you go too fast, you may miss things. If you go too slow, there'll be other problems. But if you could find that spot, that sweet spot, right in the middle, that's where you can make your magic happen. So remember, life is a sports season. And there's so much that we can learn from sports and apply, to our life and to our business. And I think the more we do that, the better we get. So take the time today to take a deep dive and a look at what you got going on. What do you have going on that may be holding you back? Are you overworked? Are you exhausted? Are you out of shape? Mentally? Physically? What is it? Only you can change that. Are you coaching a team that looks tired and exhausted and you're not getting them to respond to you? Do something off the cuff. Give them a day off. Do something totally different. I know in spring training some days we would bowl, we'd go to billiards, and we'd just do something totally different to kind of get our team bonding but also working in a different way. And you could do that too. But you got to be aware. It starts with having tremendous awareness of self and those around us. When we can get that down, that's when we can start to win. That's when we can start to be a truly performance-based leader. And that is what it takes to become a champion. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's pod. Simple, to the point. So think about how you can treat your life as a sports season. Now I'm getting ready to wrap up on my book, Becoming a Champion, which is coming out this spring. I'm super excited about it. 15 lessons on success in sports life and business. And I know you guys are going to love it. And this lesson of recovery and relaxation is one that was totally undersold to me as a young guy who definitely dealt with some battles I didn't have to deal with because of a lack of rest and recovery. I hope you guys learn to do it a little bit different way. This is Coach Dana Cavalea, signing out. I'll talk to you guys soon. Make sure you check out the podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and you check out the blog at danacavalea.com. Get on there, 6:02 in the morning. Some motivation, inspiration, health, lifestyle, coaching, sports, all of it. It's all there. And if you ever have any questions, feel free to reach out. I love communicating with you guys and helping you out. Dana at danacavalea.com. Talk to you guys soon.